City of Cotulla will meet for a regular meeting on Thursday, November the 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Alexander Convention Center, Conference Room 290 North IH-35 Access Road, Cotulla, Texas. This is an open meeting subject to open meetings laws of the state of Texas. First item on the agenda is call to order.
You have two councilmen that are called in emergency difficulties in making the meeting. They asked to be excused.
Okay. At this time, Councilman Garcia and Councilman Rodriguez are asking for an excuse for unapparent reasons that they could not attend the meeting at this time. I need a first motion to excuse both individuals at this time.
First motion.
By Mr. Cotulla.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item number 3 for the pledge of allegiance.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, just to let everybody know, the mayor's voice isn't working too good tonight. That's why Tanis is running the meeting and our mayor pro tem's not here. So,
Item number 4 on the agenda, citizens to be heard. Is there any citizens at this time, Secretary? Okay. Okay. Item number 5. Okay. Item number 5, departmental and committee reports. A, municipal court report.
She's not here. Code compliances.
Okay. Item number B, code compliance, Mr. Garcia.
Good evening, members of the City Council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Dolina, Mr. Pena. In my monthly report for this November 10th, there are 12 contact properties where first letter warnings were sent for nuisances of either weeds, brush and grass, or trash and rubbish. The second item is the second warning letters. There was only 2 at this point on that indication for follow-up regarding trash and rubbish and weeds and grass. Regarding those items there have been some attempts on some of those second warning letters from those property owners, and I'll be following up with them. Now, moving on to the amusement machine permit tags. Some of those businesses were new business, the one nearby the Riverside. 40 machines were permitted, 40 machines were tagged. The Lucky Turtle on 412 Market, 42 permitted machines, 39 were tagged, and they had 3 machines that were not operable. And then the Jefes Amusement on Front Street, 72 machines were permitted. They had 69 machines tagged, and they had 9 machines that were not operating at the time, and they have 2 pending machines for that establishment. The other establishment was the 502 Main Street, the Aladdin Amusement Park, which happens to be inside the cellular business that you mentioned. They had already paid the permit. It was just the fact that they hadn't gotten tagged. So, with regards to those. Now moving on to the properties in compliance. You'll have 12 properties in the back there on that listing. For the most part, everyone has made very concerted effort to get those properties taken care of and have shown progress. Obviously, they make it a point to cut as much as they can down. So there's significant progress on those properties with considering what they looked like before. Then we had one property demolished that, of course, Mr. Thomas and I collaborated on, 306 Girard, a 2-story building residence that was not being used any longer. and another residence is going to get set up in there. As I mentioned in the last meeting before, I had the courtesy letters I was going to send to previous property owners who had already complied. Of course, when we had those rains, it didn't take much for those properties to rise up again. So just so I'm not making it hard on them. Like, hey, just check your properties, considering with the recent weather. So in hopes I get response and they can take care of those properties. The other two items, of course, are on the agenda, and I'll leave that to you to discuss at a later time. Is there any questions to anything I have?
Will you be present for the other items on the agenda?
I'll be here.
Okay, I only have one question. You did a great job on your report. On those items, on those addresses, it could consist of the mobile home that is kind of old and also the yard itself that needs work, like cleanup, both at the same time? Or how do you go by if they only clean the yard but not the building? How do you do?
I'm looking at the weight, trash, and rubbish aspect of it because it creates a nuisance for those properties that are either to the left or to the right of them.
Correct.
And if they happen to be able to work on that property as well, that would be great too. There have been some properties where I've managed to include an indication to give some attention to the structure, but they pretty much concentrate on whatever they have lying around within the property and the high grass and weeds.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for your report.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Anything else?
Item number C, wastewater and water. Jimmy?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Dovalina. For the water, I'll start with the water. And for the month of October, the aquifer has lost 3.52 feet. Right now, we're sitting at 534.18 feet in the aquifer. Our demand is still down. For September, we had $34,343 million with a daily demand of 1.5. And last month, I believe it was like 1.2 million gallons per day. So production is still down, and that's good. And then also, I would also like to take this opportunity to recognize Victor Theus. He went and took his D water license test and passed it, so he's now he has a D in water and wastewater. So that's what I have right now on the water. If you have any questions.
On the 3 roads that are working right now on the water lines, what's the update on that?
That will be discussed in the
It's on the
later
agenda.
on. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions from Mr. Jimmy? On wastewater and water?
What?
Do you have any more questions?
Did you report on the wastewater?
I'm gonna report that now, and then I also have the gas report as well. On our lift stations, we are having issues with the lift stations with wipes. We had seen a decrease, but now we're starting to see it come back more. We're checking those pumps at least twice a day. We did have a issue that at the main lift station there at the plant. Like I said, these wipes are getting pretty bad. So if the community would not flush the wipes, that would help out a lot, because the pumps and the motors, they're pretty expensive, and if they're able to dispose of them in the trash, that would be great. Also, we did receive the notice to proceed from the Texas Water Development Board, and we're just waiting on the contractor to mobilize and begin construction. And that's all I have on the wastewater. If you have any questions.
Could we do something in regards of making notification to the public in any way about those wipies? Maybe trying to reduce it. I know it's kind of hard.
I think former Councilman Garcia did a video with his high school students, and that helped a little bit. But we can repeat the process.
Yeah, it'd probably be good to probably process it to every campuses and businesses around there.
Do we have something on our website?
No.
Have you looked at other cities, basically the same, like Cotulla, how they do it, or? I know that some cities have a net type of thing they put on where the wastewater goes.
We do have on our wastewater treatment plant improvement project. We do have in there for a bar screen, we just have to look at that one. That's going to be priority. But we're going to have to look at phasing that project out just because of the price tag on it.
Pretty expensive.
Yes, sir.
I think it might not be a bad idea if that video was put on the website for Cotulla so that people can see it when they go to the Cotulla website and just play it.
And I mean, if we can put pictures up on Facebook or on the website, I have plenty of pictures of the pumps, how when we pull them out, that how many rags are actually balled up together. So I mean, I can always email the pictures and they can put them up on the website or on Facebook or all the social media. Is there any other questions?
No, sir.
All right. On the gas, I have a little bit of a report. The city did replace the 120 feet that is required by the Railroad Commission, and that was by Leona and San Miguel Street. That was we did replace 120 feet line, and that was done on October 22nd, I believe it was. We had to do that job at night, and that was done and completed. And then also the guys are still currently working on the replacing the small leaks on the valves that we had that are grade 3. I think the last time I checked, we're down to about 20 of them that are left, and that is all I have on the gas.
Is the gas still in the high price, or
Yes.
Yes,
has it
sir.
gone down?
Yes. The war on Ukraine is having an impact on the gas price. We're trying to negotiate a longer-term contract to where we can stabilize the price and reduce the cost of the city.
How many residential do we have with gas and businesses?
I think it's a little bit under 500.
I have a question. I know a while back there was a leak on Southwest Lane area. I believe as you begin in the north part of Southwest Lane. I don't know if it was already repaired or not.
As far as I know, I'm trying to remember more or less.
Right, it's right there where you turn to go to the complex, Martinez Park, right there in that corner.
On Huddleston?
Well, Southwest Lane and
Huddleston?
Yes, sir. That corner.
I believe it was fixed because I remember it being exposed and then they had covered it up.
Okay.
But I'll make sure to find out for sure.
Appreciate it.
No problem. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number E on department and committee reports, Street and Parks Department. Mr. Thomas?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Mr. Valladina. Our street personnel demolished a structure at 410 Market Street, and the customer paid the demo fee. That was the El Charo structure, and we demolished that one. And we also cleaned up a property lot by mowing grass and removing debris at 1200 Hidalgo Street. Also, the customer paid the fee on that. We also demolished a two-story structure at 306 North Girard Street, and the customer also paid the demo fee. We also utilized a tractor with shredder to mow the grass at the Cotulla Airport and also on city property lots. We also cut grass on Main Street, Houston Street, Mars Drive, Bader Street. We also cut grass and removed debris and cut tree limbs and graded and backdragged dirt with the loader to level the surface in the alleys we're doing the Colonia section right now. And that's the report that I have. Questions?
I have one question for you, and I'd like to ask Jimmy another question after you. How is your equipment so far, from the smallest to the biggest, on a loader, backhoe, shredder,
Everything
your truck? I would like to know the status on it and the cost on every vehicle that you have. Has it been sent out for repairs? Costly? Is it worth it or not worth it to be sent out? Do you have any kind of type of vehicles that is out there in the category?
No, everything is right now, there's things that we're doing, but it's not really costly.
The reason I say this is because, the reason I say that because I stopped with one of the employees that from your section. He was mowing grass with one of your Z-Tracks. And it didn't sound good. It was because it was kind of smoky, and it could have been that it is already wearing out, or is it been to be repaired or not? Is it due for new machinery, or is it costing too much money, or that's what I don't know.
The machinery in question was sent to get an estimate for the repair. I think the repair was worth about $5,800. So we're in the process of evaluating whether we're just going to buy a new machine.
Okay.
Because that's more or less the price of the new machine.
And this is on the Z-Track, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I was gonna ask Mr. Jimmy a question. Yes. Let's see if I can remember what. I'm sorry, never mind. I'm sorry, I got it right here. Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Thomas?
Do we have any more questions for Mr. Thomas? Councilman?
No, sir.
If I can I proceed with the solid waste?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Martinez had a prior engagement, so he's not here, but you have his report on your packet. And so if you have any questions.
He did ask me to remind everybody that there will be garbage pickup tomorrow, even though it's Veterans Day.
Okay.
And also the brush collection will be open on Saturday. Also the transfer station.
Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Thomas at this time?
Also the animal control is,
Okay.
he's not here this evening, but you got your report, his report in your package, so if you have any questions. I want to say thanks to Jimmy and David Wright. They lend us a truck for the animal control officer until we get the new one, so appreciate that. So he's mobile.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Thank you.
Right. Item H, Main Street, Karina.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Mr. Dovalino. Before I get started with my report, I wanted to formally introduce our Assistant Main Street Manager, Margie Gonzalez. If y'all need any needs for Main Street, you can go ahead and contact her. We don't have business cards yet, but as soon as we get those, we can go ahead and pass those out. In your report, you can find that an overview of projects. The trunk or treat was held on October 15th at Veterans Park. We had obviously the trunk or treats, and then we also had face painting. I did list the first through third place winners in your report. Christmas in the Park Winter Wonderland will take place December 2nd with the parade going from Las Palmas Boulevard to Veterans Park. And then the tree lighting at 7 p.m. And then the festivities of the face painting and then music. And then we did rent a Skyline movie screen, so we will be playing a Christmas movie. And then the 2 horse-drawn carriages that have already been booked. And you can also find the flyer that's attached to your report. In regards to Stockman's Bank, the drainage connection to the street has been repaired by the water department, so we do thank the water department for doing that for us. In your later agenda, you can find payment application number 14 and then 2 change orders for additional days for completion. Plaza Florita parking and restrooms. Same as last report, we're going ahead and started looking at the design to match the roof, and we kind of felt that it was very modern to the actual neighborhood. So they're actually still working on those designs, so once we have those, I can go ahead and present that to you. And then they are trying to match the same stone work to the same stone that's at Plaza Florita in the benches, the same. And then the tentative completion date of Florence Maltzberger's statue is actually May. That's tentative. And in your report, you can actually find 2 pictures of the work in progress. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
We have had some members of the community that have volunteered some of their photographs of that area, and we're accepting donations or copies of the plaza itself and what events used to take place there, so that we can mimic what they did before. And if anybody has photographs, we'd be happy to copy them and give them back to them, so that we can keep a historical copy of whatever event was held there in the past. And the main thing that we're trying to do is blend. So the properties that we acquired, we're trying to blend them with the neighborhood, so they don't look at a place and that they look like they belong there. And we seem to have a problem with the architect, but we straighten her out. They had a modern roof that went like this or something.
I have 2 questions for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
What's the status? I don't know if you still have the generators for the pumps for the water wells.
I'll explain later on in the agenda, but we're still probably gonna have to get the generators, the same thing that we did last year.
Appreciate it.
Because we got some information from AEP that they have contract crews in place around the area, because they must know something we don't, but they believe that the power grid is going to fail. And yesterday I talked to an individual who told me that there's 2 power lines that are coming out of Zapata from the solar farms that are built there, coming north, and that there's also 1 line coming out of Edinburgh, because this particular section of Texas is missing, or it doesn't have sufficient power to be able to sustain itself. So we're prepared for what we need to do to make sure we have our source. But in the agenda, you have the a proposal for a hazard mitigation plan And the reason we're asking for the hazard mitigation plan is because we're still asking TDEM for money for the generator.
How many generators are we talking about?
Two.
2 generators?
They're 500 kilowatt.
And they're gonna be run by natural gas,
No, they're gonna be run by diesel.
diesel.
My last question, is it possible if you can give me an updated organizational chart?
Sure.
Okay, appreciate that.
Any more questions for Mr. Dovalin at this time? Thank you, Mr. Dovalin, for your report. Item number 6 on the agenda is approval of minutes of October 13th, 2022. I'd like to entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion.
First motion, Mr. Sartuque. Second motion, Mr. Ayala. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Item number 7 is ordinance of City of Cotulla amending code of ordinance City of Cotulla, Texas Charter 13, Section 13-2B, expiration renewal, providing exception to the transfer and permit machines, declaring public purpose for incorporating asylum, providing repeal, providing the severity of the required publication and setting an effective date.
The city of Cotulla has, for our last few meetings, discussed this issue of maquinitas, because that's easier to say than amusement redemption machine. And we had one owner, there may be others as well, who at some point may decide that they want to move or transfer a machine, and under the current ordinance, that's not permitted. I was instructed to take a look at the ordinance and determine whether or not we wanted to make, whether we could put a change in there that would allow them the ability to move a machine. So I have prepared, and you should have in front of you in your packet, a ordinance with some red lines that basically would allow the movement of machines one time during any permitted period. So I'm not sure how long our permits last now. I think they're annual. So you would be able to move them between the expiration date on the permit. One time you would have to pay to do it. There'd be a $50 charge per fee per machine. You don't have to charge them. You could delete that. You could make it more than that. I don't know. They would be allowed to make one transfer from any location to another location one time. And so if they move one machine and they come back 6 months later and want to move 4 more machines, no, you only get to do it once.
And that's one time per year,
One time ever.
forever.
Yeah. So what they want to do is they want to avoid having to buy another permit. So, for example, if you had, somebody who, as my understanding, they had problems with theft, they want to open up a new location, you let them do it, and that's it. That way you're not worrying about, whether they've done it once or whatever. The machines, they would be required to give you a photograph, a manufacturer's identification plate, displaying the make, model, serial number. They need to give you the address of the location where they're sending it to, that they would have to own or lease. So if they sell it to another operator in town, they can't do that. that thing's going to expire. But if they own a location and they want another location, they can do that. Code compliance looks at the machine, makes sure it's okay. Affixes city's transfer permit, which I think would be something you'd stick on the permit somehow. I don't know what our permits look like or who makes them or where we get them from, but we would have to have a way of identifying it. And basically, it would be they're all entitled to do it, but you only get to do it once. So, say the next year comes, your machines expire, and you want to move your whole maquinita place to a different location. You can do it because you haven't bought your permits yet, right? So, it's not like you can't do it. And I'm not sure why, except my understanding here that there were some extraordinary circumstances.
Well, I think there's usually disputes with the landlord.
Well, that's not the city's business. And I think it allows a limited right. I'm not sure what the intent here is or whether the council wants to do anything.
I did get a visit from two ladies who I gathered were from out of state and a lawyer from Longview yesterday.
A lawyer from Longview. That sounds impressive.
And the ladies, yeah, it really is impressive. And the ladies appeared to be from out of state, and it was on the issue of maquinitas, and they indicated that they had some points that they wanted to address related to the ordinance, and I invited them to send us their proposal, and it's something that maybe they will consider or not consider, whichever the pleasure of the council is. But from what I gathered, what they were trying to do was to exert some control over the placement, and I guess wanted people to go through them. And they indicated at some point that they thought we were undercharging, and so I invited them to provide us whatever talking points that we're talking about. So we may see some of that come forward.
Are they trying to get rid of their competition by raising the permit fees?
Of course, that became evident.
Look, the thing is that Mr. Dovalina made it very clear in one of the meetings, may have been the last meeting, these things are not really what you want in your city. We all operate under the illusion that they're only giving amusement redemption prizes. We know that's not true. So you're not under any obligation to do anything for them. In fact, Mr. Dovalina made it very clear that if it were up to him, he'd get rid of all of them. But we have them, and how long we're going to have them, I don't know. They've been around for a long time. I'm not sure that these are the same things that what we used to call 8-liners.
They're the same thing.
And periodically they go in and raid them, and they arrest people, and then they open them up some other small community. And there's a reason why they put them in a place like Cotulla that doesn't have a police department, that doesn't really have the ability to be out there 24 hours a day and see what's really going on in those places. But that doesn't mean that the comptroller's office isn't looking at them, or other state agencies. They wouldn't tell us if they were anyway. So
there is a license that you need to acquire from the state comptroller, and in discussing the fact that we were undercharging and some of the things that they were suggesting we do, it would be apparent that we're short on staff to do what was suggested. So in fact, if we do raise the rates, it probably would be to have one person take care of that in particular, among other things, to make sure that we have compliance. And I think in the past, it's been brought up before that maybe we do need to have an additional person. There's plenty of work.
And of course, you know, we have a well-meaning lawyer from Longview that wants to tell us how to do things. So, you know, we'll see what he has to say.
On this item, I do remember that the lady came to ask us to waive the fee for circumstances that she's going through, the robberies and things like that. Like you mentioned, a one-time deal, but she wanted to be waived the fee. I'm for it due to the circumstances she mentioned, and she did have proof of it. But a one-time deal, that's it. Not coming back that an additional year, 2 years, come back. You can't. That's how I see it.
Well, the way the ordinance is written now, there is no fee. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So if you want to allow her to do it, that
You're allowing it once a year?
No, just one time.
that's
it.
So
For that
For that person.
For that
One
person.
time.
the problem is that person sells it to another person, or their kid comes in and says, well, I never asked, can I move him again? You know, and I mean, we play that game with water utilities and gas, and it's up to the council. The council
It's an
creates
enforcement issue, and if we run into that problem, we can hire an additional staff and make sure that that doesn't happen.
So there's two questions here tonight. One is, do you want to change the ordinance? You want to leave it as is and just let this person do it? That'd be the easiest way to do it if that's what your intent is.
Or why don't they think about it, put it on the next agenda, and maybe we'll have some additional things that will be placed on
Because
there.
you're going to do
And
it for one.
to-
you have
to-
do it for another person.
To address Councilman Zartucha's point, that's the easiest way to do it. You know, don't change the ordinance, just say, okay, we're going to let you do it.
Well, that's what she's really wanting.
Right.
And we don't have to change the ordinance, but go ahead and let her. Because if we went and go ahead and change it, there'll be an additional month. That's an additional month that the individual has to wait. So we don't have to change the ordinance, but just go ahead and let her. That's how I see it.
The only thing is you need to make sure you're setting precedent so anybody else coming in behind if you allow the exemption, then you're gonna have to allow the exception for other people. 'Cause
I'm allowing the assumption because that individual came to us with her hardship that she's asking.
She didn't just move them and not tell us
That
about
is
it,
correct.
which is what everybody else does.
That is correct.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Because not everybody's going to come to the table
No.
and ask us.
So,
You do it at night and
Correct.
move them, and
so can you take action without doing that?
I don't think so, no. But we can do it. This agenda item is to amend the code of ordinances, not to grant a variance. So, no, you don't have notice for that.
So you table it and put the item on the agenda. What he's trying to avoid is that person having to wait another month. He wants to take action tonight.
I don't see how you can. Not with what we have on the agenda.
What is your duration on this
Then
item?
I would suggest that you amend the ordinance and allow the 1 year annual to that one person so you can actually take action, and then it puts it
Okay,
into
we'll
effect.
do it that way.
Amended
Yes,
for this one time.
yes.
Say that again?
For him to amend the ordinance?
Tonight?
Yeah, tonight. You have it as discussion and possible action,
Okay,
don't you?
so the idea is to amend the ordinance tonight
Yeah,
to do what exactly?
1 year on the year, an annual, one-time move for the person operating. But only one time.
Do you want to leave the other stuff that's in it?
What else did you put in it?
Well, there's a fee, there's,
That's gonna be
Did
waived.
you change the fee?
no, I just included language that would allow the city to charge a fee. There is no current fee, you just can't do it, period.
No, I think he wants to allow it without the fee.
Because she was requesting
Is
to
that
be
correct?
waived.
So if you make the motion
I
and
make-
So you approve the amended ordinance
without the fee,
without the fee.
you strike the fee.
Okay? Yeah, you can do that.
And then that's a one-time deal.
Yeah, everything else stays in there except there's no fee.
And this is effective immediately?
It's effective when the mayor signs it, yeah, today.
Yes.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Sartuche to amend the ordinance, and seconded by Councilman Ayala. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
So the other provisions still apply, there's just no fee. So she's got to take a picture, she's got, I mean, if she's taking them all in there, and just, I would think they would have some kind of an inventory of the machines they have.
The machines?
Yeah.
The code compliance have the
Decal.
inventory details on it.
Okay. All right. I'll accept the changes, Bianca, and I'll take that out, and then you can have it.
Item number 8, ordinance of State of Cotulla amending City of Council meeting procedures, including compliance with Robert Rules of Law Order, establishing rules of decorum, debate, and setting effective date.
You want to explain what you're trying to do with the ordinance?
Yeah. I was trying to make the changes. Very quickly, it's just updating the meetings ordinance to reflect that we're now having them here instead of at City Hall. That's the only change. There were a couple of other things in there, making it clear that if we can have 2 regular meetings, the way the ordinance was written before, it said we could have more than 1 regular meeting. What this says is that if you have another regular meeting, we're going to try to do it on the 2nd Thursday of the month.
On the 4th.
I'm sorry, on the 4th Thursday of the month, but you can have it at another time if you want to. So we've been having meetings here, I guess, since COVID, so we're going to continue to have them here. So, and the second meeting will generally be on the
4th Thursday.
4th Thursday. Yeah, I've got that written wrong here. 4th.
Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Sartuche. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
It'll be the 4th for the second meeting.
Yeah, if you'll try to have it on the 4th. I mean, if 4th is Thanksgiving or something, you can have it on Wednesday, which it is this month, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Item number 9, financial report by Ms. Jorge Flores. Mr. Flores?
Mayor, council members, good evening. First report is the sales tax report. For the month of November, the city received $633, which is 18% less than last year. Now, the current month collections were actually $185,000, but we had audit adjustments of negative $53,000. That's why we only got the $132,000, but actually $185,000 collections for the month is very good.
Can we ask Controller's Office for an explanation?
We can ask the Controller's Office why the audit adjustments were so high. The next report is the hotel motel tax collection report. For the month of October, the city received $266,676. That was a very good month for hotel motel tax collection. The next report is your statement of revenues and expenditures. This is on the new software. So we'll go over the different columns of the report, and it's basically the same as the reports that we were bringing you before. The major difference, the first column, prior year, that is last year's revenue and expenses. So we're now being able to compare what was collected last year to what we're going to be collecting this year. The next column is the budget amount. Then you have the current month activity, which is the activity for the month of October. And the next column is the year-to-date total. Since this is the first month of the year, the current month and the year-to-date are the same amount.
Does the software still bill and record the revenue when it's billed, or does it wait till it gets collected?
We can do it either way, but that's more
Our preference?
yes.
So I have a question. So the budget starts in October?
October
Yes.
1st.
Okay.
Yes. Now, if you look at page 1, the top part of it is the revenue, but if you look at the bottom part, where it begins with the first line of every department that has the 12, 10, and then all zeros, that tells you what the department is. So in this case, 12, 10, and the 4 zeros are the general government expenses. On page number 3, you'll see that it starts with 1212. Department 12 is the fire department. The next one, Department 13, is animal control. So that first line will tell you what department is being reported. And if you go to page number 5, at the end of every fund, there's a summary of revenues and expenses. So if you look at the last column, the year to date, total revenues for the general fund was $169,002. Total expenses were $152,602 for net income of $16,399.
That was just for the general fund for
Just for the general
2022.
fund for October.
For October.
The other question I have, has all the taxes been collected by the hotels, motel?
There are still, I actually did see a deposit in November. So next meeting, we'll be reporting some more revenue for the hotel motel.
Generally, the hotel motels report on the quarter, and they've got 30 days from the end of the quarter to report the money without actually getting penalized if you so choose to penalize it. And we do an audit every year of all the hotel taxes. We choose and we pick the properties And then we go and do an audit to make sure they complied with what they paid the state and what they should have paid the city.
Thank you.
On page number 8 are the totals for the water sewer fund. Total revenues, 150,189. Expenses of 87,475 for net income of 62,713. Page number 10 are your totals for the gas fund. Revenues of 32,894, expenses of 10,241 for net income of 22,652. And on page number 12 are the totals for the solid waste fund. Revenues of 68,939, expenses of 47,600 for net income of 21,339. Also included in the back a check register. So on page number 1 of the check register is just a check register in numerical order. So you see at the beginning the 101, 102, those are the check numbers. And if you look at page number 5, page number 5 will give you a breakdown by what the checks total by fund. So we issued checks in October of $302,742. Now the new software, phase 2, actually begins next week. Phase 2 is billing utilities. The training starts next week, and the plan is to go live with utility billing in December.
One of the questions I mentioned to him, if he said that he was having problems with the internet with Spectrum, he was going to notify them to come and fix it. Am I correct? We're here. How about over there? Is everything running correctly?
We have a current problem where we're trying to get Spectrum to address the issue.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10, discussion and possible actions for task order number 5 submitted by CDM Smith, updating the Cotulla hazard mitigation plan.
This is a proposal by CDM Smith. The hazard mitigation plan that the city has expired, and in order to qualify for Texas Department of Emergency Management funds, we need to have a current hazard mitigation project. We were also informed at the same time by the Texas Department of Emergency Management that they gave the city a grant of $67,500, and the city would have to match that figure in order to pay for this work, but that they needed to get FEMA to get approval to approve that grant. And so we're waiting for FEMA to approve it, but we're asking the council to consider the hazard mitigation plan, because as it was explained to us, if they in fact award the grant related to the generators, they will find a finding if we don't have the hazard mitigation plan. And so we can avoid that by having one done in place, and hopefully it'll be done before the grants get awarded. You would need a motion to accept if that's your wish.
Is there a motion to accept the mitigation plan? Task order number 5. Motion made by Mr. Sarmiento, seconded by Mr. Ayala. All in favor? Aye. All against? Motion carried. Item number 10, number 11, discussion and possible action to allow LaSalle election administrator to conduct the city election.
This depends on the wishes of the mayor and the council. If you want the county elections administrator to run the city election, or if you want the city to run its own election, it's up to you.
I'd rather have
Georgia may speak to that because she's the one that's trained.
Thank you. Many cities that have a election in the county, that they have an election administrator or coordinator, the cities allow the county to do their elections, to run their elections. I guess 2 years ago, they have took away from the tax assessors and the
District clerks.
the district clerk's office, and now they have their own election administrator. So they, in a lot of cities, like I said, the election administrator for the county will also do the ones for the city.
Do we have enough employees in the city to run an election?
For the past 10, 11 years, I've been doing it. I did have help. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. For the past 3 elections, I've done it by myself. And it is very, very overwhelming. Many hours, and then I have, on top of that, my full-time job that I also have to do.
How many employees do you think will it consist of for this?
Well, right now I can tell you the county has 3 in their office, and they're asking for 2 more to run county elections.
Will be county employee or anybody?
Well, they're asking for theirs, so they'll have 5, and they think that's enough to run in an election, and I'm by myself. So I would say 2 or 3 people would have to be to run an election.
And that's to hire people for the city, or?
Well, the problem that she's talking about is that she already has her own job, and she has to set everything aside while she does this job, and then she hires people from the outside to come in and help her because there's no one else to help her. And so you have an elections administrator at the county that she prefers that you contract with her and let her run the whole thing.
The county people.
The county people. But it's
I would still be involved in, I still have,
You're gonna be overseeing.
elections really start in December. Like by December, I already have to start posting election stuff. So it's 6 months of the year that we actually have to deal with
So
elections.
you're gonna be overseeing.
So I
the
will still
city.
be in charge of hiring the early voting clerks. Of course, we'd have to pay them. That's everywhere. The election coordinator or administrator, I'm not sure exactly what they named her, would be training them, would be setting up the machines. We'd be using their machines. They'd be tallying at the end of the day, the mail-in ballots and stuff like that, because everything is time sensitive. So if I get a mail-in ballot one day, I have to process it by 10 o'clock the next day. So if I'm trying to get checks out at the same time, I'm working 16-hour days. By the end of election, all I want to do is cry. You know, it's very overwhelming. It's a lot that you have to, and it's all time sensitive. Like you have to have it in the paper by a certain day, certain time. So I can't put the election stuff off. I have to put my regular stuff off, and that I have to meet deadlines too, to process vendor checks and stuff like that.
Do we have any other surrounding small cities like Cotulla that do that with the county?
Yeah, there's many of them. I know Pearsall's always done it with the county. Dilly is considered doing it with the county. I'm not sure about the other ones, but that is something that the county, like if you look at San Antonio, there's an election administrator. She handles all the counties in that area. So, all the cities.
All the cities.
You know, right.
So here's something I want to make sure that the council understands. If you have the county election administrator run your election, that doesn't mean you're having a joint election.
Right.
You still go vote where you normally vote. It's just that the county administrator is responsible for the conduct of the election. I used to represent small cities in San Antonio. Jackie Callanan, who I know personally, would run all those elections. The city still has to get out the notices and have the drawing for the place on the candidate. I mean, I think it's actually what I'm hearing is the actual nuts and bolts of counting the votes, the stuff on election day. Early voting would still be at the city, but there would be somebody in charge of making sure that happens, right?
Right. It would still be held at the city hall. I'd still hire actually the early voting clerks. They would just be trained. The county would train them beforehand because that's a yearly training that we have to do. I'd still go to the election trainings because I still have to stay on the laws because things are changing all the time.
Do we own machines election, or do we rent them?
We own them.
We own them.
We have 2 electronic and then 2 scanners which scan the ballots, the paper ballots to count.
So the machines, you said the county owns their own machines.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to use our machines. We're going to sell them to them, or what?
No, they will use their machines because they will program them.
And what happens to the city's machines?
We just have them.
We'll use
They
them
are
in early
not
voting.
the ones, the electronic machines that you can actually go and vote electronically. I don't know how old they are. They've been there as long as I have. I don't know when they were purchased before then. So those are very old machines. The scanners we got like 8 years ago. We wouldn't have to do hand
if
count.
you follow national politics, I think we may be going back to paper ballots.
We use more paper ballots than electronic here.
There's
in
a
Cotulla.
big push to get rid of these voting machines. So I don't know.
The only thing I see that I would like to still have Georgia oversee the whole county employees, and at the end of the election, make sure that all boxes are open, and she oversees that.
Yeah, what happens is with the county machines, when you close elections at 7 o'clock, you have to enter a code, of course, to close that machine. It prints out a thing, and it also has a memory card. That memory card goes straight to the election coordinator's computer. They put it in there, and it prints out immediately what the results are.
Correct.
Instead of me having to add early voting, because we don't have the electronic machines.
Correct.
So I have to add all those together to count. So it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So those I will transfer over to them myself with somebody with me, the election judge, and then bring the results back and post at City Hall.
What is the difference in cost?
Well, they had a proposal or a draft thing. It was $8,000 is what they're asking for the rental of the machines for their workers, for their time and training and stuff like that.
And what does it currently cost the city to have an election?
Honestly, I don't know. I can tell you I do just for myself in overtime is probably $3,000. What do you think, Bianca? About $3,000 that I put in overtime in a month.
Plus the machines.
Plus the machines, plus the election workers and stuff like that. So
we're going to pay $5,000 approximately, more than where it would be, for the city to be running it.
right. I think it'll probably be pretty much even either that, or I would have to hire someone either to do accounts payable for 2 or 3 months while I do elections when the
It's actually a lot
ballots come in.
closer in cost
Yeah.
than 5,000.
If something goes wrong, you say,
Yeah, they did it.
who is the county? I didn't even know they had one.
Mireya Maldonado from Ensenada. She's hired as the county, and then there's 2 girls that work as election workers with her.
Are they in the courthouse?
Hmm. They have their own office there at the courthouse.
Well, that's how they do it in bigger cities.
Right.
I don't have a problem just as long as Georgia is in charge of the whole thing.
Yes, I will still be overseeing. I'll still be going to training. I actually have a training at the end of this month in Austin with the Secretary of State's office for
Yeah.
elections.
Also, if somebody comes with a complaint or a question, they come to you instead of to them.
Right.
So let me ask this other question. if the city were to do the agreement with the county, then when that stuff goes to them, it's immediately available, right? Because sometimes the city has an election, you know, we do know kind of at the end of the day, but it may be a day or two before we get them the official results. Is that going to speed up the time?
Oh, yeah. They'll know once they put the memory card into their computer, it prints it out immediately. So the only thing that we'd have to wait for is provisionals, like always. If we get some from overseas, you know, military and stuff like that.
And for my own
we don't.
selfish motives here, I do like the fact that we have Georgia going to the training every year, because they change this stuff all the time. And, you know, you really have to have somebody who, a great deal of what they do is focused on that. Because there's just no way, unless that's all you do, it's very hard to keep up with.
And that's one of the reasons, because they've gone to a lot of training and that's all they do is run elections. They don't have another job. So they're already familiar with the system, what's going next, you know, what they have to do in order to.
So let me ask one more question.
Sure.
The machines, I don't think really cost that much. It's the programming.
Right.
That's where they get you. Because you
Right.
have to program them every year, every time you have an election or some new software thing.
Right. I actually, for our electronic machines, I'll have to, because we have to have the headphones where if somebody can't see, can hear the election. So I have to say Gilbert's going to be on the ballot. I have to send them the pronunciation and what it should sound like in English and what it should sound like in Spanish. So, and then they'll, you know, it's very, very time consuming to do all of that.
Do they have an agreement that they've sent?
They just sent a proposal and they called and asked if we had an interlocal agreement that we could give them. And I said, it needed to go through council
Which
first.
means the commissioner's court's going to have to approve it.
Right.
I don't have a problem. I think it's a good idea. You know, working together in interlocal agreement with the county and the city.
Right.
Who else is doing it with them? Is the school doing it with them?
The school rents their machines. They have not gone as far as having it with them. I think Jeanette had asked, because Jeanette's the one that does the school elections, had asked and they had said they didn't want to have it. Now, I'm not going to say that that's exactly what they said because I wasn't there, but they did not want the county to do it because they thought that they were going to have to do it at the courthouse and they wanted the people to continue going to vote at their regular location.
So the election code already requires the city and the school to have a joint election.
Right, right.
So
and
if we
even
go to
if
the
they would
county,
do the city and the school, if the county would do it, it'd still be separate ballots. It would still be city elections and school elections.
and you
It would
just
be
have,
overseen
we're doing
by
them
someone.
here now, right?
No, we do them at the city hall.
At City Hall.
And it will continue doing there?
Yes.
You mean a motion for that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
So the motion would be to consider the proposal, but we haven't seen it. So, and then of course we need an interlocals.
Right, they sent that, was it in their
Invoice.
packet?
Yeah.
A draft of the cost of, because we sat down and discussed the county would do this and the city would do this and so forth, and this is what they came up with. It's marked draft on it.
I don't have a problem just as long as there's a letter stating that Georgia will be in charge of everything of the election.
On the city part.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, I need to see the document, but they're getting funded by who? The county?
Yes, they're county
Yes.
employees.
So $8,000 is nothing for an election. Maybe they get some state money too.
They don't. They don't get state money. So,
Steve, if we did propose this and it went through, would the city do the interlocal with the county, or would we expect the county attorneys to do it to propose it to us? How does that work?
Every interlocal that we've ever done, we draft it and send it over to
Okay.
them. And I know
but we would need to walk it through.
the
Right.
prior judge, Judge Rodriguez, usually used outside counsel to review those things. I don't know what our new judge is going to do.
We did have a meeting with him last year, was it, sir? With Judge Rodriguez and the election administrator. because we had talked about it already previously, but we did not have an election last year. So that kind of fell, and so we brought it back up.
So
Yeah.
what happens if we have a repeat? Do we still pay the 8,000?
Yeah. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
If you cancel the election?
Yeah.
Well, no,
In case
because-
somebody has an opposition.
Because we would not have, they would not have done any of the job yet.
So
You
okay.
cancel the election
But if
before
you're-
everything
If you're
begins.
gonna have the charter thing, it's gonna be on the agenda. So you're still gonna have to have an election, even if you don't have candidates.
Absolutely.
So motion before the council is to hire the LaSalle County election administrator.
No, it would be to proceed, but we've got to see the agreements and make sure that's going to have to come back to us. Is there a deadline on this? And
No,
we're only in November.
Right, but like I said, I mean, I would start in December, but I'm gonna do the posting and stuff, so I'm guessing they'd have to know as soon as possible would be.
So if the city's going to move forward with it, that sometimes getting everything from here to there
Right.
to somebody's, like Larry said, somebody's got to walk it, because it may sit up there in somebody's office for a while. But I think it sounds like they've got an actual department that's their only job. So I'm
Right,
sure
and
they'll
she's
make sure
already
it gets
called
done.
me to see if we had something ready for her, because they want to start doing it as well, and that's when I told her we had to present it to council first and see.
Yeah.
So you will draft up the interlocal?
I need to talk to her. I say, what do you have? I mean, if they've got something that they're using, I mean, there may be model agreements out there.
I think it's a fairly new department. I don't think they have a document or a template that they can go back to, so you probably need to do something
Yeah,
from scratch.
but it's done all over the state, so they're.
Yeah, I
they're
believe
out there.
Ensenal is trying to get them to do their election as well.
And maybe at some point it might not be a bad idea to have her come and talk to the council. That way you all have the chance to ask questions.
Ask her.
So we don't need a motion for this today?
Or do we table it?
No, I think, you're not approving anything. If you want to make a motion to have us proceed with looking into it.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like the council's okay with it, but we need to see the final document.
So final document, will you be drafting something up?
I'll talk to her,
Okay.
and we'll figure out what we need to do.
Okay. Any other questions for me?
Motion to proceed.
For motion to proceed, first motion was made by Councilman Ayala and seconded by Councilman Sartucci. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries to proceed. Item number 12 is discussion and possible action requesting submit by Sheriff Anthony Sartucci requesting permit to use Alexander Convention Center November 17th. Waive a fee for official training or meeting or in meetings.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Dolina, and Councilman. On behalf of the LaSalle County Sheriff's Office, we're just asking to utilize the Civic Center for continuing education required by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. This required by the state for us to maintain continuing education each cycle. So if we are inviting other agencies as well, not just us, to include any surrounding agencies, local agencies, Ensenal PD, and the LaSalle County Sheriff's Office, and just asking if we can have the fee waived to utilize the facility.
The only thing I do like, if possible, for the sheriff's department to at least have the city be recognized for doing this, waiving the fee on this, and probably give us a thank you later for letting y'all use this facility. I don't have a problem.
Mr. Ayala?
I make a motion to proceed.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Ayala, seconded by Mr. Sartucci. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Item 13, discussion and possible action requesting by Cotulla FFA Booster Club asking for sponsorship of first annual Cotulla FFA Booster Club Music Festival on November 25th, 2022.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Dolina, City Councilman. My name is Raul Gonzalez, and Mr. Ramirez is here with me. We're both here on behalf of the Cotulla FFA Booster Club. November 25th, we are hosting our first annual Music Fest. I'm sorry, Music Fest, and we would like to see if the city of Cotulla would help us with the sponsorship of any monetary donation. We're not asking for a specific amount of money, but anything would help. It's just to get us advanced a little bit, and also would like to see if the city would donate a trash
Container.
Yes.
You sponsored the youth rodeo before. I think you give them $5,000, and the waiver on the trash is not a problem because we have 8-yarders or 4-yarders, whatever that may be. So the money that you would donate would come out of hot taxes, because we assume that we would have heads in beds, and that would be a problem. So it wouldn't come from local taxes. It would come from visitors that pay hotel taxes.
Now, also, the FFA Booster Club, with the donation, will hand out tickets. If there's the city councilman or the amount of employees that work at City Hall that would like to join us at the Music Fest, with the sponsorship comes also some tickets and a banner. We'll hang a banner, the City of Cotulla banner.
That would be up to you. It wouldn't be a requirement.
Right. No, it's totally up to us. I understand. It's just something that I think we're all have agreed to. Kind of, you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back type of deal. We want people to go out there. We want people to enjoy it. We've got a great lineup of music. We're going to have a cornhole tournament. And it's just something that we've decided to do for the students of Cotulla.
I'm forward.
I go forward.
Make a motion.
For how
Motion
much?
by Mr. Ayala, seconded by Mr.
For how
Sepulveda.
much? For how much?
The amount?
Yes. You have to include it in the motion.
With the amount.
5,000. 5,000 be fine.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You have a good day. Item 14, discussing possible action on request submitted by Marty Ramirez asking for permission to place a RV at 4018 South Main as a temporary residence while repairs are being made to her house on Johnston Street. Ms. Ramirez? Hmm?
We can't really hear it, that's all.
Marty?
Hi, I'm Marty. I moved about 35 years ago, and I need to come back home to repair the house that is and our properties that are much in disrepair, that have been neglected and stuff. And I was kind of chosen over my sister to come and take care of that. And so I've had to sell my home up in Colorado to come home and use that monies to fix our properties, clean it up, and because it's kind of just very, very messy and nasty and stuff. It's been vandalized, broken into numerous times. People have encroached upon our property, and so I thought, okay, I can just get an RV, live in that temporarily, so that I can oversee the repairs if it's possible to do that. And so that's what we were hoping for. I found out that apparently you can't do that anymore. So it's either that or pitch a tent.
What is the duration of your repair on your home?
I haven't been able to get a contractor to say this is how long it's going to take me. I've gotten through 6 contractors. I haven't gotten a quote on either one of them. So I'm waiting on 2 right now.
And Marty, where will be connecting that RV at?
I
address?
thought the best place would be for right there in the second pack. I put the fence up, to put it in there. But then, and I cannot at this time move it behind the house, which would be ideal, because my little buddy that lives next door has all his junk in there. I mean, you should see the back of it. I mean, it's amazing. He's got his tractors, he's got junk, all
She's
sorts
got
of
a
stuff.
civil problem and we can't get
Yeah.
involved in it.
Yes, I agree with that. But again, I can't move it there. That's why I said I have to put it in the second pack.
You gonna repair that house there on Johnson Street where Tristan Ramirez's place was?
Right, that's our home.
That was a store and a home, right?
Right.
It's a big piece of property.
Right. It's been around since Grandpa,
That was your
had
grandpa?
the meat market. My grandfather had it, the meat market, and then the grocery store there. And then, when all the ranchers went belly up because of the drought, Dad decided, you guys aren't going to pay me anymore. So he had to close that store and move to the second pack. And then,
I think you could tie it to the building permit. How long are the building permits for?
The building permit is, depends on what the length of time or what they're gonna do to the location. The reason she cited the RV on Main Street is because there was a water and sewer tap there. But the RV is practically sitting on the right-of-way, which you shouldn't allow in the first place because it's not her property. It belongs to the city. And now she has a problem because she put out the canopy on the RV and the wind came in and destroyed the canopy, so she's got a little complication. But the ideal location is where she indicated that it should be, in the back of that store or along that street on Johnston. But I don't know if she's going to be able to get agreement with the individual that's there, showing that it's encroaching on her property. I would immediately get a surveyor and stake out the land and proceed from there.
Yeah, I've got the original deed of Mr. Charo who had that little building. It was only 40 by 60, and it's definitely past that. But then I have to come up with mine, and they wanted me to come back with a surveyor from 1930s. It's like, I don't think I can do that. So I'm kind of stuck between rock and a hard place right now.
What you do is you go to the courthouse and get your original deed that's recorded in the courthouse. You hire a surveyor, a brand new surveyor.
Okay.
He goes out and puts the stakes, and you give fair warning to the guy that's there that he's got to vacate. That's as simple as that. Okay. And if he doesn't pay attention or agrees to it, unfortunately, then you have to hire a lawyer.
Okay.
The encroachment is from the back of the property?
Yes.
Is there an alley back there?
No, there's no alley.
There's no platted alley?
No, the guy just started piling stuff there.
You go to the code compliance officer and say,
but can we go
what do you
ahead
got there?
Can we go ahead and make a motion so she can get a temporary?
There's no reason you can't do it. I'm trying to think where Tristan's store was. There's a little triangular piece of property.
Correct.
We're the second pack. Remember
That was the
Uncle
second
Mo's?
You're talking at 2 locations.
Okay, you got Uncle Mo's.
Right.
You
And
got
second pack.
Tristan's.
Right.
And then right on the corner, there's a little.
Yeah,
Triangle.
The
There used to be a little trailer house.
That's
there.
where the original Uncle Mo lived.
Yeah.
He had a trailer
A
there.
trailer.
The guy that opened Uncle Mo's, there was a trailer there.
Yeah, he lived there in a mobile home when he first opened up.
Because there's a meter
And then,
loop there. Still.
yeah,
Is that where
then
you're
he
gonna
pulled
put
it
it?
out then Mirta had her mobile home there for a little bit, And then Mrs. Crisp had her nursery there as well, and she had a mobile home there. And then, and I thought, well, it's got all the connections. I thought, well, why not,
Is that where the home's going to be?
I put
No.
That's where the home
I'm
currently
going to put the
is.
RV there, just to get out of the way, put it inside the fenced-in area. But I wasn't able to do that.
The home that she's trying
That's-
to repair is on Johnson Street, right?
Yes.
Right, so she's trying to put an RV where there was a trailer for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's city property?
no, it doesn't qualify. You've got setbacks and you've got things that you've got to comply
Right, but
with,
it's-
and you're not going to be able to comply.
Except it's temporary.
And I don't think it fits inside that fenced area.
Yeah, it is.
It does?
Oh, yeah.
They had a full-size trailer, like a mobile,
Yeah, mobile
home in there. I remember it. Hey, it's y'all's decision. I mean,
We need to move it out of the right of way.
Yeah.
Can you put it inside that triangle?
Jesse from the water department said he would help me tomorrow to put it inside the fenced-in area. But
But she also said that by getting the permit for her to fix that the house in Johnson Street, we'll give her the same opportunity to park the RV there. Meanwhile, she's repairing that.
well, I mean, if you want to put a limit on it, you could.
The permit itself is good for a year.
Yeah.
Give her a year and
Okay,
come
'cause
back.
that's why I
and
asked
get
her:
over it.
is there a period of time that she needs to repair the house, and she doesn't know yet because she hasn't found a carpenter. So it's gonna be kind of hard, but
When's the last time anybody lived in that house?
A long time.
It's over 25 years.
about 1996. Yeah, I think we
years.
came and got Mom in 96, I believe. Yeah.
It's gonna have to meet, I've never been inside it, so it's gonna have to meet code.
Yeah,
And you've
I'm
got-
planning on replacing the roof, the plumbing, and the electrical system. Definitely is way out of code because it's from the 50s on part of it.
Yeah.
So that is going to be totally redone.
But we're
together
talking
with
about the
plumbing.
RV. We're talking about the RV.
Oh, that's a 2020.
Yeah.
It's fairly brand new.
I wasn't talking about the RV.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You guys are killing me here.
Well, I think that goes back. I'm more interested in the other thing. I'm like, that ties into that Plaza Florita thing. I mean, that thing is
A
two blocks.
mobile home does?
No,
the house.
The house. That's two blocks.
I
2 blocks
understand.
from where the plaza is.
Yeah.
I've never seen that store
Yeah.
ever run. I know people live there.
My grandma used to live right across from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still has that cow in the very front.
Yeah.
I
That's
know.
how the mom's house was in the corner.
Are you gonna fix the store too?
I'd like to. So it depends. Again, everything has to fall into place. I have to have all the logistics in place of this has to go first and then this and then this.
How long has
So
it
far, I
been?
can't get going on it.
How long has it been since it's been a store?
Oh, that big grocery store?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. When was the drought? The 7-year drought, that was probably
The
in the
1950s?
50s? Yeah.
I grew up
Yeah.
on that street, and that store was closed when I was a kid.
Before you get carried away. It's zoning. It's a non-compliant use. It probably is not zoned as commercial or mixed commercial or anything like that. So you're gonna have to go through a zoning change besides going through a building permit. It's got other complications with it.
Oh, for the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did it for that where Kika Jimenez's place used to be. Remember,
We did
it.
do what?
We did a zone change there where that.
Yeah, but that is actually zoned for that. There's a little,
No,
it's a zone E.
where that Raspa place is.
Yeah.
That they painted it purple. We did do a zone change there.
We did.
You did, you can.
So those streets, parts of them were used historically as commercial.
Yeah,
For-
but you gotta be zoned.
Right. that's just interesting to me. That store's really.
Yeah. And I actually found somebody that would actually restore the actual mural that was on there, you know, for the old store.
What mural was on there?
It was a cow.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah, it was. It had. I think it was Ramirez Meat Market and Grocery, and it had the head of a cow, and it had the year.
If you're going down Johnson Street,
I know what it is.
Brown and white cow.
Yeah.
Hereford.
I'm wondering how much of that is just covered up with crud, and if you clean it,
Yeah.
it might.
Probably,
That's interesting.
yeah.
I
Wash
thought.
it. Wash it. Spray wash.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a home attached to it. That's residential. I don't know. I'm just.
Now we're back talking to the RV.
Killing me here. You guys are so funny.
I don't have a problem giving her the permit while she applies for that permit to restore the home, but she lives in that RV inside the fenced area at the store.
I mean, it's been used for that before.
That's fine.
I'll make a motion.
It's a motion was made by Councilman Sartucci, seconded by Councilman Ayala, to allow Ms. Marty Martinez to place a RV park at 408 South Main Street as a temporary residence until the repairs are made on her home on Johnson Street.
Do you want to put a limit on the time? Do you want to do 1 year and then have her come back?
The duration of the permit would be fine.
Yeah, duration of the permit, which is a year.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, guys.
Do you remember that store being open?
I remember I used to work at the back,
Yeah, that was open.
and the other one, I never saw it open. But if you go inside that store,
Okay. Item
they used to have
15,
old machines.
possible
Machines
action
where they used to-
to
What?
establish. Item number 15, discussing possible actions to establish a way to remove abandoned junked vehicles, unwanted vehicles within public and private property, utilizing the services of Tijerina Record Service.
Sometime back, of course, what we have in the city, and we all know, is we have issues with vehicles parked on the easements that are inoperable, you know, then been there for years or having problems moving, haven't moved in years. But the issue is, how do we get them removed and who do we call? And then where does the problem go from there? Because we don't have a lot, and or what fees are going to be incurred to the city. So with that being said, I kind of reached out and talked to Mr. Tejerina, who has a lot there in Gardendale, and asked him about that. What it would take for him to, what would it be in order for us to get vehicles towed? And what kind of fees would we incur and things like that. I don't know if the full letter and what I asked is in the packet, but if it is, you can see for yourself. In speaking with him and meeting with him, he did say that he would recover just about any motor vehicle, boat, RV, or that could get moved, that needed to get moved if it's on our right-of-ways. He also said he could secure the vehicles and would secure all vehicles and items on his properties. Of course, he has a record service, he's got to have that. And then, of course, and send notifications to registered owners. Say somebody said, no, that car's been there forever and I don't know who it belongs to. The best possible only other solution is he would run it through his system and then generate a form letter to whoever it comes back registered to, and hopefully then he would send a letter. He would do the compliance part.
He'll be responsible for all that.
Yes, he would be the compliant.
Certified letters and
Exactly. Everything abiding by what the law says he has to do, or what we would normally have to do if we could do it ourselves. And then, of course, he also would provide me a form. So if any other property owners, say for instance, I had a junk vehicle that's been there in my yard and I don't want it. I don't know what to do with it, and people say they want it but don't come pick it up. He would send me I'd get a voluntary release on the vehicle. If there was a title attached, he'd release it, and I could contact Mr. Tejerina, and he would come for the vehicle with a copy of that voluntary surrender document. And of course, he would also let me or allow me to contact them if I just need a follow-up and say, can you tell me who the registered owner of this vehicle? And then go from there.
So these would all be consent tows?
I'm sorry?
These are all consent tows? Tows where people agree to have them towed?
No.
No.
That would be.
You actually have abandoned vehicles sitting on the right of way with grass over the top of the car. You can't even see the car.
The city has a right to red tag those and move them.
No, we do, but here's the who's going to pick them up, because we don't have that solution in place. So I'm trying to establish the solution to say, you know what, if we can get it resolved here tonight, where yes, it's red tagged, but is it going to cost the city $250, $300 just to get it removed? And so that's money coming out of the city.
And he's going to move them to Gardendale?
But he has a lot.
A pick
He's
and
in
pull?
compliance. He has his record lot there.
He's going to sell it for junk.
Yeah, they crush it, do whatever. He's going to have to abide by.
So
what
the
the
city
rules are.
doesn't have to do anything. He'll go
Right.
do it.
He does everything, and there's no fees assessed to the city, and go from there. So that would be for those vehicles. Should we have to remove them that are on the easements? Now,
How many
any vehicles
are we
on
talking
proper
about?
property.
How many are we talking about?
There's plenty of cars.
What was the question?
How many are you talking about?
Oh, it can be anything. There's 3 right off of Girard or Kerr down in that area. There's a couple off of Baker or Elm. There's one off of Bella Street that Mr. Dovalina's mentioned. I'm not saying it's a whole bunch, but there vehicles that need attention. You got Thomas Street over there in Velasquez area. That guy has a lineup of cars right there. But what good does it do me to tag them and I don't have a solution to get them removed? And I'm just barking, but I got no bite. So.
And these are all vehicles that can be picked up. They're not like 2-ton.
They're not registered.
Trucks.
They're not. Even then, he has a large record service record truck, or regular record service type vehicle.
Yeah.
So
he would coordinate this with your office and you.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. He's not going to come just because out of the blue. No, he's going to come because I already tagged it, went through the process, and he knows.
You did your part.
What about
the city
that
did
other
their part,
record
and
service guy here?
It's
Yeah.
up to them, to
Has a
him, to do
junkyard.
whatever he needs.
And if I need an audit report
He
or
does start
kind of just
telling me
saying
stuff, too.
a summary
He's
on the
not
vehicles
in
that were
compliance.
picked
I know
up,
he's
He
not.
never
he'd
came.
provide that for me too.
Yeah.
It's just something because we have nothing right now.
Yeah.
So
Right now, you're targeting the city right away, basically,
Yes.
right? Right.
Yes.
I know it's been on the code of compliance for many years. And can we start notifying the public in any way? I
We
don't know if
can
have to.
put it in the newspaper.
Yeah, that'd be sufficient.
right.
Just for them to know.
one other thing I thought of doing before tagging a vehicle, reaching out to those property owners. I says, in 72 hours, I'm going to come and tag this vehicle, and you're going to have 10 days from the time I tag it to remove this vehicle. At least I give them a courtesy, and then boom, and then the time's going to start ticking from the 10 days that I tag
It's
it.
a good idea.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least you know courtesy.
Just courtesy.
So when you red tag them now, what do they do? Do you get a phone call?
I try not, sir.
We don't red tag them because we can't enforce anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Dovalina says, I want the car removed, and I really don't have a way to do it,
Well, the city, like you understand, they have the right to move a vehicle off a public right of way, but we can't go into somebody's yard and get it unless they tell you to go get it.
No,
And
that's what the voluntary
Right,
paperwork
the
is.
consent token.
Say, we put out something
Notice.
on the website, or on the Facebook, any property owners that have any vehicles that would like to get them removed at no cost to them, they could do a voluntary surrender and release the vehicles. That would clean up the properties as well of junk vehicles,
It's the next step in cleaning up the city.
Correct.
I'm just looking at a way.
Yes.
I mean, and this is, you might say, well, who else? Well, who else? I mean, anyone else is 30 miles, 40 miles away. They're going to incur bigger cost, fuel, everything else.
It's a good idea to do that.
Do it that way. That's the solution I was hoping for. So, see what you
One of the things,
Can we
one of the questions.
pass action, or do we need to do an RFP, or?
We're not paying him anything, are you?
No.
No.
He's going to go tow vehicles and deal with the owners. I mean, we don't have any involvement in that.
Okay.
One of the questions I asked Mr. Dolina, I believe last month, on some vehicles, abandoned vehicles, on the state right of way.
Yeah, we did not initiate any of that.
But then what he's talking about, he can initiate nothing, like give stickers there for the abandoned vehicles there on the projects area.
Like on Highway 97 side, along the easements, that's what Mr. Sartucci is
Yes,
talking
you
about.
can.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of them
It's
vehicles
still
there.
a right of way, and the cars are not in their property, so
It's
I
in the
would.
city.
Yeah.
The city has.
It's in the city right of way, even though it's a state highway.
Correct.
On that one, on that issue on 97, the housing director already sent letters to those individuals, and they haven't done anything about it. We will send out notices on vehicles on the right of way, on the state right of way, that they're being parked there for years, and the housing authority director has already sent citations to them, and nothing has been done.
Yeah.
They're
Sometimes-
inoperable.
Yeah.
I'm not.
They're inoperable.
Yeah.
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 They don't move.
No. And they've been there for quite some time. It's a hazard to me. It's a hazard you can't see because you're walking in the sidewalk and somebody decides to come in and there's an obstruction in the way. You
Correct.
can't see it.
Law enforcement can remove them as well, but I mean, for whatever reasons, maybe they don't see that it's worth their time to do
They
that.
don't care.
I don't know.
But it's a good step where the direction you're going on this, and we need to tackle that because it is a nuisance.
Go, sir.
I know that we can start on city right away right now, but I don't know. Are you targeting also the vehicles that are inside private property there?
I'm not targeting any vehicles on private properties. I mean, the opportunity is going to be there for those citizens who have vehicles on their property to know that there's
Voluntarily.
an option to get those vehicles removed. If they've been there that long, they're probably never going to get ever
Correct.
You're going to
Correct.
try to get them to consent.
Okay.
and get them to consent. That's what the voluntary
That's good.
form is for.
That's good.
So Mr. Tijerina just approached the city, or did we
So
solicit?
we approached them.
Okay. I mean, as long as there's no funds from the city, and he's going to do the paperwork,
I'm
let
for
him.
it.
You need a motion.
Then make a move.
Yes, first motion made by Mr. Sartucci to have the Herina towing remove any unwanted vehicles or those voluntary vehicles that are being volunteered by the owners at this time. We have a second by Mr. Ayala. All those in favor?
All right. Good.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Joe. Item 16, discussing possible action to approve water line replacement project for Matamoros and Monterey Street for an amount not to exceed over $65,000.
Are you going to address that?
I believe this is just to close out the project, and is that for the retainer that they are asking for? Oh, I'm
It's a
sorry.
water line.
Water line.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. Okay. Yes, sir. This is we're not to exceed the 65,000, and this is to replace the asbestos lines there on Matamoros Street and Monterey. The county's gonna do they're paying majority of it, and the 65 is just the city's
share.
City's share.
Okay.
As a city
And
bid,
it's an asbestos 6-inch line that you're gonna replace with what size
With
line?
PVC is 6-inch.
and who's doing the work?
The county,
The county's gonna do it.
their
The
contractor.
that
under
they
the
have there.
local.
Okay, so this has been bid.
It's already bid.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion.
First by Mr. Ayala, seconded, I need a second by Mr. Sartucci. Okay, to approve and not to exceed an extension on Matamoros, the removal of, water lines to Matamoros and Monterey Street not to exceed 65,000. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried. Item 17, possible action on final change order submitted by Sergeant Irons recording to completion of project to exceed the final completion date to August 2022, not to increase in contract amount as requested.
This one I'm not real sure. The 200 McGuire iron.
This is a resolution that is being requested by McGuire Arm to close out the project, and so you're accepting the project as a formal discussion at the council meeting.
Okay.
And then it gets forwarded to Texas Water Development Board so that we all can close out the project. There is a glitch on some of the lighting that is there, and we've notified the contractor. You have a 1-year guarantee from the date that you accept the tank till the date that they're still responsible for anything that goes wrong with that.
And they will be here next week to
fix
work
that.
on the lights.
Okay. So, motion was made by Mr. Sartucci.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ayala. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried. Item 18, discuss and possible action to accept and approve Cotulla LaSalle Airport Elevated Storage Tank Project.
It's the same thing.
Okay. Entertain a motion, Mr. Sartucci. First by Mr. Second by Mr. Ayala. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Discussion possible action to change order number 5 submitted by Frank Briscoe Architect, adding 10 days, moving the submittal completion date from 11/25/2022.
You're gonna.
Goody?
This is just asking for 10 more days. And then the next one is asking for 14 more days. It doesn't, Frank Briscoe actually explained to us that he doesn't see us using all the days, but just to be on the safe side over the holidays.
No additional cost for that for us from
No,
us?
it's just for days.
Okay.
It's not a change order for days.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Motion was made by Councilman Ayala, second by Councilman Sartucci. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Item number 20, discussion and possible action. That's 14. Okay, number 21, discussion and possible action, contractor application payment 14, submitted by Briscoe Architectural Conservation in the amount of $26,870 for the Stockton National Bank Phase 2.
It's all within budget. It's already approved. I'm just telling you that the draw is going to occur.
Okay, so Mr. Ayala make first motion, second by Mr. Sartucci. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carried. Item 22, discussion and possible action considering the conditions of the following structures and take appropriate action to declare them public nuisance, required abatements, and or to take appropriate remedies, actions pursuant to the Texas Health Safety Code and Section 342004.
That's a lot of properties.
It's a lot of cleanup.
I see one on here is a LaSalle County is a trustee on this.
That is the property that's running along Front Street, along the railroad tracks that burned. That I believe it used to be Lumbreras property, or correct? That brown house. It's caught on fire.
Yeah, I think that was the old Carpenter house, right?
No.
No, the old Carpenter house we knocked down
They
over.
already knocked it down.
Are they aware we're gonna?
I
gonna
visited with the county judge, and one day when I was there at the courthouse, and talked to him about the property and mentioned it to him, he says that was fine, or he didn't make any indication that he did not want it torn down or anything. So I told him, Judge, I'm going to put the property on this. It is a nuisance. It's a hazard. So that's why it's on the list. So he does know.
After the council action or whatever it may be, we then will put in the newspaper the wording and the list of all the properties so that we can get some response. If not, we'll proceed with knocking them down. And we place a lien on the properties to recover our costs.
If there's any questions or want to see any photographs, I'm pretty much photographed most of the properties and the issues they have. Some of them are just open and to anyone that wants to use them as a place to go hang out, which is what has been happening. We have several mobile homes, a couple mobile homes right there listed. Some properties off of J Street, heavily overgrown. Has been no activity on those properties. No one's paid the taxes since 1994. You know, their properties are not being taken care of, and they're dilapidated. So, if there's any questions on any of those properties, I'd be more than happy to show you the photographs. Or
No, I don't have no questions on this property, but I do have another question. Maybe you can answer. If there's an area that needs lighting, street lighting, and it does need lighting, could I tell Joey?
As long as it has a pole.
It does have a.
AEP, I have a letter from AEP where they would put up the light for free upon the request, and we make the request, and supposedly 5 days later we have a light.
Could you check on one area? It's 2nd Street and Gerard.
I already been there.
But it's been on Gerard Street.
I already been there, sir.
So you're sorry?
Yes. It is an AEP pole, and what AEP techs have mentioned to me, if there are AEP poles there, and if it is that a light is requested or needed there,
yes,
they'll look at that and do an assessment or go inspect that area,
yes,
and then they'll put a light there. And they'll send me an email because I do everything through the computer, and I get a notification. I just had a light put in just off of Corporal Garcia and Lane Street, right there by the Humberto Reina property and Borrego property.
Correct.
There was a AP pole there with no light. It was kind of dark. And the same thing with 2nd and Gerard. It's kind of dark there. There's a lot of activity apparently there. So that was a request.
We do try to space the lights 300 feet apart.
Correct.
And the city does pay the electrical use. I think it's $10 a month or something, whatever it is.
So I have submitted the form letter that's already
for that area.
For that area, I've already done that one. Like that one already got put in on Lane and Corporal Garcia. No, the second and Gerard just came up within the past couple of days. So I was just out there yesterday and talked to the property owner whose house is right in where that pole is.
Correct, Guzman.
And talked to him, Mr. Garza.
Okay.
So.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you.
Next item number 23, going to closed session. The time is 8:54. At 9:15, no action was taken at this time.
No further action be needed.
The meeting's adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.